KCRA Television Color Presentation.
60 years covering the news.
The news comes first on TV3.
Wow! Grandma's gonna be able to see us get married.
Across Northern California.
Sacramento's West End.
An eerie sight in Truckee.
At least 3 officers have been shot in Sacramento and Placer counties.
That's something never done before.
And around the world.
The Afghans have had a difficult life.
Reporting from Red Square.
From Nottingham.
At the Sochi Olympics.
Here in Mexico.
Big stories. Breaking stories.
The fire has now jumped Highway 120.
Our stories.
She was going to do great things.
60 years of being first. Of being where the news comes first. Tonight, a KCRA 3 special. 60 years of excellence.
For the past 60 years, 5 words have been the defining phrase here at KCRA, where the news comes first. More than just a slogan, it defines who we are, what we do, and our commitment to the people we serve all across Northern California. It's our legacy.
60 years of big stories, 60 years of innovation, 60 years of firsts.
September 3rd, 1955, KCRA Television went on the air for the first time. It wasn't a newscast that marked our start, but a live broadcast from the California State Fair. That first broadcast, a small but significant step, was the start of what would become a 60-year legacy, during which the Kelly family would establish KCRA as a news powerhouse.
Where the news comes first.
Our call letters were already familiar. KCRA Radio had gone on the air 10 years earlier, founded by Ewing Kelly and the Hanson family, owners of Crystal Creamery. But television? Well, that was a whole new frontier.
This is the sound of news. Channel 3 spans the length and breadth of Northern California to bring you the fastest, most complete news coverage in this area.
In 1956, Channel 3 Reports was born, and very quickly, KCRA earned a reputation as one of the top TV stations in the country.
KCRA truly lives up to its motto, the news comes first on TV3.
It's a legacy that has continued as we've changed, grown, and innovated.
And we're looking forward to meeting the challenge of presenting you, our viewers, with the widest ranged, most comprehensive coverage ever attempted on this local level.
When you hear the letters KCRA, it means a lot, and it means a lot not just in this market, but all around the country.
One of KCRA's first reporters and anchors was a fresh-faced Stan Atkinson.
I did the 11 o'clock news with Stu Nahan. It was 5-minute news and 5-minute sports.
I wonder how this is going to come out on TV, Stu.
I don't know, Willie.
And my sponsor was Hostess Cinnamon Dainties. So I'd stand there for the first 3 minutes and do the news. And then the floor man would roll in a table that was decorated with open or still packaged Hostess Cinnamon Dainties. Hostess Cinnamon Dainties, I'd say. Got it? Hostess Cinnamon Dainties. I'd take another bite. Get them.
Color film was available, but it was expensive. KCRA's first reports were in black and white.
The newscast and the sportscast were incredibly successful. I mean, the ratings were huge. And, I mean, bear in mind, this is like 1958, 59, 60. Television was still an oddity, as it were.
At KCRA, we had proved our commitment to news and the community almost from the start.
This is Sacramento's West End.
Over the years, our commitment to news coverage grew, and on February 20th, 1961, we launched our first hour-long newscast at 6 p.m.
We were the first to do a really segmented hour-long newscast, the first in the country.
And as the Sacramento area grew, there was a lot to cover.
During that time, a lot of the news coverage centered around the redevelopment of Old Sacramento. That was a huge and ongoing news story for a long time, just like the Kings in the arena are now.
By the early 60s, television news was coming into its own, finding its way, even if the tools and technology were still a bit challenging by today's standards.
Our unsung heroes for the photographers were the guys who processed the film.
But things would soon change.
The news comes first on Channel 3. Now, you've heard that statement many times. Well, very shortly, the news will not only still be first, but many segments will be in color.
a legacy of new technology with the first color broadcast, first color news film, and the first regular live remotes. Live from across Northern California.
Live in the capital city.
Across the country.
Our political reporter Steve Swat standing by live for us from New Orleans tonight.
And from the air.
The wind is coming in off the Delta, and it is really, really feeding this fire.
I always used to consider myself as the first strike tool. You know, we'd get there, we'd get it on the air, we'd give a perspective that you couldn't see from the ground.
It was that kind of thing that established KCRA's superiority in the marketplace.
The signature of KCRA at the time was
KCRA TV Channel 3, where the news comes first.
That was trademarked by the Kelly family, and they actually meant it. They actually came up with the concept that if you want ratings, you want to be the most important station in a market, then you have to have the best newscast, and they did.
Through the decades, the KCRA news team evolved, expanded, became more diverse, and very familiar.
Hi everybody, I'm Dave Walker.
And I'm Lois Hart.
In 1990, Dave Walker and Lois Hart, the husband and wife team who had anchored CNN's very first newscast, took over weekends on KCRA.
When I came in here for my interview, and the weekend anchors were Dave Walker and Lois Hart. And I knew them from CNN. And I'm thinking, what kind of television station is this that their weekend anchors are Dave and Lois? What must the rest of the team be like?
Eventually, Dave and Lois, Stan Atkinson, Mike Boyd, and others would make way for the current team.
I'm so lucky that people like Edie Lambert and Lois Hart and Dave Walker were here to kind of bring me into the fold with open arms. And Edie and I ever since have been, I think, a great team.
I see it as a huge responsibility, and I am so careful to make sure that we're giving good context to what we're watching on TV, and that we're not just speculating on what we're seeing, sticking to the facts, giving people the information that they need to know.
Building on that legacy, producers, editors, photographers, engineers, the people who handle commercials, and the team that promotes the work we do.
KCRA is one of the premier television stations in the country, has had a long legacy of excellence.
Station President and General Manager Elliot Troshinsky oversees KCRA, which in 1999 became part of Hearst, one of the nation's most diversified media, information, and technology companies.
I am so very proud to be the news director, but I have to tell you, with that wonderful pride and that wonderful happiness comes an enormous sense of responsibility. Viewers hold us up to a very high standard, and we really never want to let them down.
More people watch Channel 3 reports because this is where the news comes.
Innovation. The newest in video cameras. This is an Ikegami 83.
Risk takers.
If the boom can get the stinger into the hole, they're home safe.
Game changers.
The Valley's first electronic news gathering.
KCRA continues to pioneer a number of firsts in local news. KCRA doesn't just cover Northern California. We cover the world, taking viewers to dozens of countries since 1955.
Bill Harvey reporting from Red Square.
KCRA News in Vigo, Galicia, Spain.
If you wanted a story, you had to go get it.
The outrage was universal when the Soviets invaded Afghanistan.
We had a number of reporters that traveled, but Stan Atkinson probably risked most when he went to Afghanistan.
Throughout history, the Afghans have had a difficult life. But it's easy for them to accept that. They take it as God-given.
The opportunity to tell those stories was the best part of my career. I mean, there were amazing experiences. I mean, Afghanistan was just unbelievable in 1981 when I went in.
They cut off and bombard enemy forts until they surrender.
I got held up in El Salvador and robbed and got chased by a Soviet gunship into a cave in Afghanistan.
I think I went to about 10 different foreign countries.
Businessmen see this former Soviet Union.
The Kelly family invented that legacy motto that we have, where the news comes first, and they really meant it.
Troops you see here are walking toward Nicaragua.
And so we got to go and do a lot of things where there were local people involved just about anywhere in the world.
I did 2 overseas series, one in Germany, where the communist East German government is actually selling people to the West.
This year, an estimated 40,000 East Germans will be sold.
And one on the occupied West Bank.
Was formed outside of Jericho after the formation of Israel in 1948.
2 reporters went over to cover the Palestinian situation. 1 traveled with the Israelis. I traveled with the Palestinians.
Good evening from Tel Aviv. Governor Schwarzenegger's fame here in Israel has more to do, of course, with Hollywood than with his own political skills.
The station always had a real commitment to covering stories that were important to people in this area. And of course, part of our job was not just to go cover the story, but to bring home any kind of California connection or California angle.
The Honorable Arnold Schwarzenegger, Governor of California.
Schwarzenegger was going to Jerusalem to preside over the groundbreaking of a new Museum of Tolerance. Schwarzenegger's father was a member of the Nazi Party during World War II, so the irony was impossible to ignore.
In July of 2014, Governor Brown led a 5-day expedition to Mexico to meet with top officials there. My marching orders before leaving for Mexico was make sure you bring back an exclusive one-on-one interview with the governor. By day 4, I still didn't have the interview. You know, used my persuasive powers and somehow tonight in a one-on-one interview got him into the room, and the press secretary said, "You've got 3 minutes, go." You said, "This is a very complex problem. There's no easy solution. What is the answer?"
The answer is not to scapegoat.
I timed it on my watch. It was 52 seconds from top to bottom. I think that's the shortest one-on-one interview I've ever had with the governor ever.
Hi, Edie. How are you? Good to see you again. How have you been?
Well, thank you. How about you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
Traveling to the White House is certainly a point of pride for any newsroom, and we've been able to do it twice recently. And to be able to ask the President of the United States about the issues directly affecting this region, we know is a huge benefit for our viewers.
We have the best and most innovative IT, computer services, products in the world. And when it comes to innovation, California is our capital. These are going to be the huge markets of the future.
We're really proud to be able to bring those answers from the President of the United States straight to our viewers.
Let's get this done!
I remember, if you go to the elections of 2012, we were at the convention in Charlotte, and David and I were supposed to be there to cover the convention together, and Mitt Romney was the odds-on favorite to get the nomination. He was pretty much a sure thing. And at the same time, hurricanes broke out in the South. We had 2 people there. Why not split us up? I'll stay at the convention. David will go cover the hurricane.
Good evening from Slidell, Louisiana, where the winds and the rain have been building all afternoon. Houses like the one behind me collapsed during Hurricane Katrina.
KCRA continues to travel for stories that matter to people in Northern California.
Hundreds gather here at Gateway High School in Aurora to say goodbye, to say a prayer.
One of the big stories I remember covering for KCRA was the Aurora, Colorado movie theater shooting. And I had grown up in Denver, spent most of my life there, and so they called me and said, "We want you to go, we want you to be there field anchoring," and it was a huge story. It was one of those heartbreaking stories that I'll never forget. I think it's really important that we're there at the big stories, live, wherever those stories may break.
That's the one thing that really impresses me about KCRA. There's only a handful of stations that I know of in the country that sees themselves as almost like a mini network.
There is no downtime for this unit. The minute we arrive in Gulfport, they get to work.
They're not afraid to disperse people and resources like a network would.
Good evening from the White House.
My series of special reports from Cuba continues.
KCRA News on the desert of southern Iran.
At Hamastron, Honduras.
From Nottingham.
In Beijing.
In New York City.
In Glendale, Arizona.
Live on Waikiki Beach in Honolulu on the island of Oahu.
In Mexico City, Mike Lurie, KCRA 3 News.
First on the air, last off the air, with accurate election results you can count on. For meaningful campaign coverage that brings you the real concerns of real people.
From the very start, KCRA's commitment to election coverage has been unmatched. Our Brian Heap is live in the KCRA 3 Buzz Room. Today, this is the latest in election coverage. Another KCRA 3 first, the Buzz Room.
This is one of the hot hashtags tonight.
Taking the news to where people are, not just their televisions, but their phones, computers, and tablets. Election coverage with a social media hashtag. But it's a long way from where things started. Pegboards, monitors, and cutout pictures of candidates. That was high-tech in the early election coverage by KCRA, but that continuous live coverage became the norm for decades of firsts in political coverage.
7 national conventions, 3 New Hampshire primaries, and the list goes on and on.
My photographer and I ended up staying up till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Being on the air at 2 in the morning, reporting back on returns.
I've interviewed Hillary Clinton one-on-one. We hosted a town hall with President Bill Clinton.
A California town hall meeting with President Clinton.
The president came and he answered questions, and KCRA was at the forefront of that. We hosted this entire town hall for Northern California.
Welcome to what should be an exciting, informative, and enlightening 90 minutes of live television.
There were reporters from all the other stations. AP was here, Sacramento Bee, Los Angeles Times, San Francisco Chronicle, and KCRA was the epicenter of the political coverage of what was happening at that time.
First of all, let me thank all of you for being here tonight.
It was seen all over California. We partnered with NBC stations in San Diego and Los Angeles and San Francisco and here. We hosted the President of the United States in this building.
Bill Clinton was just one of many presidents we've covered in Sacramento.
The next President of the United States, Senator John F. Kennedy.
John F. Kennedy, running for president, stopped in Sacramento. KCRA's cameras were there.
Thank you.
As they were when Squeaky Fromm tried to assassinate President Ford in front of the state capitol.
Good evening from the White House.
Right up to this year.
Hi, Edie.
When KCRA was the only station to get an interview, our second, with President Barack Obama. But the political cast of characters is nothing new, particularly in California. From one actor who went on to become president.
Good morning.
To the second movie star, elected governor.
I have never covered a political story like the recall of Gray Davis and the election of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I would say probably the most fun I had was traveling with the Schwarzenegger campaign during the recall election.
It was chaotic, it was unpredictable, it was so much fun to cover because you didn't know what was going to happen. So I had a friend in the control room there at the NBC Bureau, and I called her cell phone, and she held her cell phone up to the speaker as they were taping. So I'm standing out in front where all the cameras and all the live trucks are there in Burbank, and I'm listening at about 4:45 when I hear Arnold utter the words,
"I'm going to run for governor of the state of California."
Yes, he's going to run for governor of California, which gave me a little bit of a jump start on the others because other people had to wait until a news conference after the fact.
I think one of the biggest highlights for me was a small moment when I was chasing Newt Gingrich, who was running for the Republican presidential nomination in South Carolina.
Mr. Speaker, how much of a comeback is this for you? Well, huge.
I caught up to him and I asked him a question, and he turned to me and he said, "Wow, you've done your homework." And that was one of the biggest compliments that I've ever gotten, because politicians normally don't give out compliments to reporters.
I just remember specifically in November of 2008, election night, just the historical importance of it all, and still being in the background, covering it and watching it all unfold.
We are and always will be the United States of America.
Watching history being made that night was really, really something to see.
For me personally, as someone who went to UC Davis, who started at KDVS in the basement of Freeborn Hall, to be able to walk into the Mondavi Center almost 40 years later to the day that I started at UC Davis, and stand there with the two candidates for governor of California.
When KCRA held a debate in 2010 between him and Meg Whitman, I asked him,
"What assurances can you offer voters that this time around, should you be elected, you would focus on this job?"
Age? Hell, if I was younger, you know I'd be running again. But I'd say at 74, whatever it's going to be in a couple of years, I'm ready. One more thing, I now have a wife. And, you know, I come home at night. I don't try to close down the bars of Sacramento like I used to do when I was governor of California.
The boxer race was really close, like very close, too close to call. No one would call it.
It's over. We've done it. I love
But that one really stands out because that was like, we're not leaving, you know, we're going to stick it out. And it was history, you know, political history, because we have a long tradition of politics.
From the days of pegboards and black and white live coverage and new ways to transmit information.
Watch the lower third of your screen because that's where we'll have our election results posted for you tonight.
To that tiny screen you hold in your hand. KCRA has been riding waves of innovation in all political coverage. No matter how technology changes, KCRA3 will be live, getting the results as they come in to you.
Weather impacts everyone, and nobody covers weather like KCRA3.
6 inches of fresh snow today.
It's one of the many reasons viewers have come to trust KCRA3 weather coverage.
It's not just the major floods and the snowstorms, but the daily forecasts, new science, and new technology. You might say weather started it all. When floods hit Sacramento Valley in 1955, KCRA realized the impact a local news station could have.
We will be going on with continuous flood watch coverage.
The storm surge is going through right now.
From there, weather became a touchstone of KCRA's coverage.
I did weather from 1969 to 1979.
Could begin to affect the weather over the weekend, probably Saturday night or Sunday.
I loved it. It was exciting, it was fun. We innovated. We had the Valley's first pollen reports, the first pollution reports.
Today's PSI was 118. That's in the unhealthy category.
My first station when I first started working in television was 1983 in Portland, Maine. And we had those glass boards that we would literally paint on. We paint cold fronts, we paint numbers and all that sort of thing.
It's a total revolution. When I look at what they have available, I can only wish we had it back then, but we did the best we could. I mean, we had hand-drawn maps.
And once again, KCRA is at the front of one of those firsts.
I got here in 1991, late 1991. KCRA had purchased, but not yet installed, the first Doppler radar that was going to be installed west of the Rockies. Nobody else west of the Rockies had a Doppler radar. KCRA puts it on the air. The heaviest rain is currently taking place. One of the things that we found that we had to do was to educate people what they were seeing. In terms of light green means light rain, dark green means heavier rain, yellow, red, what do the colors mean?
As quickly as weather technology changes, weather continues to be at the forefront of viewers' minds and KCRA's coverage.
During the time that I was here, 1980 to 2000, we had some of the biggest floods ever. We haven't had any bigger since. You know, the 86 floods, 92 and the 95, we had some of the biggest snowstorms.
I'm standing on the balcony of a home in Serene Lake. I've climbed up mounds of snow that go up to the second-story windows of homes and stood next to the roof and go, look at all this snow. There have been other times when I've tried to climb up the snowbank and live on television, not been so successful.
The first was in 1995. I was working mornings at the time, and we'd had heavy rain overnight. And we were showing it on Doppler, showed this area of rain. It was steady from Elk Grove through Roseville. This area, this line just didn't move. And then you got out to Roseville, out by Kirby Creek, and all we saw were rooftops. And my jaw dropped, because here were people that were being taken out of their homes. I remember they were on the back of a big flatbed. They were taking people out of the neighborhood because the creek rose so fast, and we didn't know. Roseville had stream gauges there, but we didn't know.
You know, the biggest one that still comes to my mind was the floods of 1997, January, New Year's Day. We knew there was a storm coming. We knew there was going to be some heavy rain. We were in special NBC programming.
We'll get to the football game in just a few minutes. The heavier rain during the nighttime hours did cause some localized street flooding.
And I recall at one point getting on the phone with the news director at the time and saying, I think we need to do a little bit more here, and we had one more little 3-minute cut in to do.
And there are mudslides on the highway in yards.
I'll never forget this. He said, well, why don't you just make it open-ended and we'll see how it goes.
Here, a motorist underestimated how deep and fast the water was rising.
So we started to do this little 3-minute update, and 2.5, 3 days later, we were still on the air.
A gas station with torrents of water pouring through.
We don't have Google Maps. We're trying to convey what it is we're looking at. So what I did have was, on our radar system, we had a mapping system. So I started working with our helicopter guy, and we just did this impromptu on the air. By way of railroad tracks and other landmarks that are sticking out of the water, we were able to show what was underwater and what was out of water.
Weather is very bad out here right now.
It was remarkable coverage. It was unexpected in terms of what the storm brought. It was unexpected in what we were able to deliver. But I think really as journalists and as members of the community, we really excelled at public service. It's one of the proudest things I've ever done.
We're looking actually over west, much west of the Chico-Durham area.
Dan Shively's Next to the Last Day. You know, one of our legendary helicopter pilots, Dan Shively, it's his next to the last day. Sometime in the 5 to 6 o'clock hour, Dan finds a tornado. So we have a tornado live on the ground. It was basically in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't in a populated area, thank goodness. But to have these stunning pictures of a tornado from Shively on his next to the last day, coming right after Oprah, it was just one of those days that I was both nervous, excited. It was an interesting day.
There have been instances where we have been standing so close to the fire that as you're talking, you start to feel the heat and you look and you're like, oh my goodness, we need to move.
Flames are all around.
My training is all in weather forecasting, and you know, I'm used to looking at things like storms coming in and wind and temperatures and that sort of thing. But fire, I've had to educate myself on fire since coming to Northern California. And it's been quite a learning experience, the way that the weather works into it in terms of wind. Now a couple of research projects out. One research paper I read about the rim fire. The particular weather concerns and the weather parameters that day contributed to the explosive growth of that fire. And I think that's something we'll learn more about going forward. And I know I'm going to keep educating myself going forward.
Some people have already lost their homes, like this one on Packer Canyon Road.
You never take it for granted. I mean, once you've seen those sort of pictures and to see the way the weather can impact people in a devastating way, you can never take it for granted. You can never take a situation lightly.
We're going to get you up to date on all of what's going on in Northern California related to the heavy weather that went through last night.
It doesn't matter if it's one home, one person's backyard, or an entire neighborhood that might be impacted. Somebody's going to be impacted by the weather that's going to happen, and you have to address their concerns.
Coverage which makes Channel 3 your station.
Before 1979, live breaking news was always covered on the ground. Then,
only Channel 3 has Live Copter 3.
KCRA launched a new era in local television coverage.
We had a dedicated Cessna that we used for traffic reports in radio. On a lark, I had gotten my helicopter license, knowing I could never use it because it was too expensive, but then all of a sudden things started happening a few years later, and Channel 3 was one of the first stations in the country to actually own its own helicopter.
Moments later, Dan Shively and Live Copter 3 were first on the scene.
I was here, and I jumped into that.
Live Copter 3 was a huge game changer for us.
Sacramento Sheriff's Department helicopter Star went down in the area.
It put us up in the air. It gave us a perspective that we never had seen before.
These are pretty dramatic shots, but this just formed a few moments ago.
It gave us the ability to respond to things very, very quickly. It was unique, it was different.
Like I say, this is just a very, very spread out fire.
It was a new tool and we learned how to use it very effectively.
One of the things I didn't realize was the helicopter is a celebrity.
It's here.
Everybody knows Live Copter 3.
Faster, so you get breaking news even sooner.
It's developed a lot of respect over the years thanks to, well, Dan Shively. He was the pioneer there. And so I had some pretty big shoes to fill.
You have to remember, when we first got the helicopter, there was really no equipment available. We had to, make it pretty much ourselves, and it developed over the years.
This is what the weather is like in the heart of the Sierra.
There was a big avalanche at Alpine Meadows in the early 80s, and the weather turned so bad we had to land, and I was stuck up there with the photographer for 3 days. And that was an interesting one, too, in that we got there and we had to drop dynamite out of the helicopter.
Dynamite was loaded aboard Live Copter 3.
And by virtue of the fact we had a helicopter and were there, we became part of the story. I said, who's supposed to be doing this? And they said, well, the highway patrol, but they couldn't make it because of bad weather. Well, what am I doing here? But it was an interesting story, and they loaded up the helicopter with a couple of guys, and we went around the cornices and threw out chunks of dynamite and blew up these
pieces of snow hanging over.
We saw him sitting there forlornly just out on the rooftop with...
And of course the happiest moment was when Rodeo the dog, who was stranded on top of a house, was rescued by our own helicopter pilot Michael Kidd and photographer Ron Middlecoff. And this was on live TV. It was a wonderful moment in an otherwise pretty tense 3 days in Sacramento.
Well, I get to it. I get to it.